Good morning, YouTube. So working on the bike today. So this is an Origin 8 frame, and it's what they call their CX700 or 700CX. They don't make this frame anymore. This was the 2012 model, and the 2012 model had these added gussets here. I think that's the only differences they had on this model. But anyway, I'm working on the rear wheel here, and I wanted to show you something. So yeah, one of the neat things with this frame, and one of the reasons I purchased it, is it's set up to be quite flexible. So for instance, it has the disc brake mounts, it also has the cantilever brake mounts, and then down on the dropouts here, it's set up to work single speed if you wanted to. So it's got the chain tension adjusters here. It's got a slotted dropout that runs parallel to the chain so that you can change the length here if you're running single speed. Now I'm running 3x10 drivetrain right now. So the other week I was watching the Pathless Pedal channel, and Russ had a bike frame he was reviewing that had multiple wheelbase options. I think it had a through axle setup, and they had a little adapter in here you could flip to put the wheel up front or farther back. When he mentioned that, I thought back to this frame, and it's like, oh, I've got that same thing here. It's not an adapter, and I have quick release. This slot here gives you about 20 millimeters of wheelbase or chainstay length adjustment. I've got it pushed clear to the back of the slot here right now. It's about 445 millimeters chainstay, and if you run it to the front here, it goes down to about 425. So actually this frame gives you that multiple wheelbase option. I do a lot of hill climbing with this bike up in the mountain bike trails, really steep gravel and dirt trails that I ride. For that, a longer wheelbase is nice because it lessens the possibility of lifting the front end, because you need to stay seated to keep the weight on the rear tire so that you have traction. And since I'm running these touring tires, I don't have all that much traction to begin with, so anything I can do to increase the traction is a good thing. So I thought about moving this back. I had been running kind of in the middle here, so I moved it back, roughly 10 millimeters. Then I ran into the problem why I hadn't done that earlier, is the brake caliper was hitting the slot here where the adapter bolts on. I started looking at my old rear disc pads, and from the outside they looked pretty good. Looking down through this little peek hole here, looked like I had pads left, no problem. But when I pulled them out for a look inside, it's like, uh-oh, there's nothing left there. There's this little piece up on the top, and I think what was actually happening was the remaining pad that hadn't been worn down was preventing these things from actually closing, and my rear brakes were basically ineffective. So once I saw that, I started thinking back to when I set this all up. The first time I changed the brake pads about 4 or 5 years ago, they had worn normally, but I think in the meantime I must have tried moving the axle back a little bit, and that moved the rotor back and then caused that problem to happen. So I dug through the adapters that came with these brakes, and I found this adapter that tips the caliper up a little more and allows me to move it back farther. So now I think I have pretty even engagement of the disc with the pad. I've kind of killed two birds with one stone. I've lengthened my wheelbase about 10 millimeters, and I've also fixed the caliper to rotor alignment issues. So I guess that was a lucky side effect of seeing that video that Russ made on this bike with the adjustable chainstay, is it got me wanting to do this, and then, oh, there's a problem with the brakes, and that was all kind of related together. I've got this one set up. I've still got to change the front brake pads. So those just came in this week. So the front rotor lines up perfectly because it only goes one place. So this rear slotted adjustable dropout is a neat feature, but with disc brakes, you really have to watch the alignment there. And there's only so much adjustment you have in the caliper. I guess I just never really got into that too much. I think I put the front brake on, got it working, and then I did the same thing with the rear, just put it on, and I think this was like the last thing I hooked up, put the caliper on, hooked up the cable, and then took it out for a ride, and really never came back and looked to see if I did that right or not. But now I think I understand the interaction of this adjustable dropout and the caliper adjustments and the adapters, and there's all those variables in there, and you got to try them all. So hopefully that'll work better. But anyway, I wanted to show you this adjustable dropout. That is kind of a neat feature. You can make some changes to your bike, and that's one of the nice things I liked about this particular frame, is it had a lot of these little tiny features. It had the rack mounts, it's got these adjustable dropouts. You can run this multi-speed, single speed, and then you have choice of brakes, cantilever brakes, disc brakes. It's got all the cable bosses for bottom and top of the frame, and it makes the frame a little bit heavier because you've got all these extra things on it. But that's what I kind of wanted, was something that could give me some options down the road if I decided to change my mind. But yeah, that's kind of a neat setup. It's a little cumbersome to work with, but it does give you the option of adjusting things around and changing the way the bike feels. So I'll have to see how this slightly longer wheelbase works. It's only maybe 5 or 10 millimeters that I lengthened it, but that might make a difference here. And if I don't like it, I can move it back. It's not a permanent change if I don't like it. So yeah, anyway, if you have any questions about the bike or that setup, post up in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.